In the last video, you learned how to define an approval for any document or master file screen. You can access this video via the upper link. The current video will illustrate the approval system via a simple example. In this example, I have defined an approval for the sales invoice. I have described the fallback employee. This employee can approve the document if no responsible employees are available. In this table, I defined the approval to be 2 steps. In the first step, a specific employee will perform the first approval. And the second step is dynamic. The approval responsible will be related to a particular field. In this field, I defined the approval responsible as the supervisor of the salesman of the sales invoice. And he has to enter a remark while approving. In the Advanced Screen tab, I selected this checkbox to display a confirmation message to the data entry to acknowledge him that this invoice will need 2 approvals, which are Syed Hussain and the supervisor of the salesman of the sales invoice. In this field, I used the template language developed by Nama to describe a summary for the invoice to be displayed to the approver user. This way, he does not have to open the sales invoice to view its data. In this summary, I defined the sales invoice's total amount and customer. In this notification template, which will be displayed as a notification required from the approver, I defined the sales invoice number, the user who created this invoice, the amount, and the customer. We will create a new sales invoice now. The customer. The salesman should be defined because the supervisor of this salesman will have to approve the invoice in the second step. If I save the invoice, this message will appear to confirm. The message has already been displayed. I will confirm. Now, the sales invoice is waiting for 2 approvals. This way, the invoice will not affect the database until the required approval done. Now, I will log into the database using the first user that was defined in the approval, who is Syed Hussain. The system displays the required approval, the message I have defined in the notification template. I will approve the invoice. Now the first approval is done. If I open the sales invoice now, the sales invoice is still waiting for approval, because a second approval required. I will log in using the second user who approves the second approval mentioned in the second step. He is the supervisor of the salesman of the sales invoice. Let us open the employee record of this salesman. This is the supervisor of the salesman. I will log in using the user of this supervisor to approve the second approval. Also, the system displays the notification template of the approval. The system displays the summary that I have defined in the approval. I will approve. The system requires a remark from the second approver. As I have defined, the second user has to enter a remark. I will enter a remark. This way, the sales invoice is approved. If we open this sales invoice, it is already saved, and no approval is required.